last week was a crazy week, right? On the left, you have the El Paso shooter, and on the right, you have a photo that was taken just beyond the means last week. I mean, all over the internet, you saw people just crying, "Oh my goodness, this reminds me of Django Unchained. My God," you know. So, yeah, I was gonna do a video on it, but I was just like, yeah, it's Texas. I have no opinion on what they do out in Texas. I'm trying to get Jersey right, but our friend, Atheism is Unstoppable, is here to basically crush all the claims of racism and, mistreatment that were thrown out via this image right here. So what we're going to do, and seeing how, the Atheism is Unstoppable stuff does get me the most views. We're going to go and break into this. So, Devin, take her away.
Check out these images that show horse-mounted...
Okay, I'll check those images out. What are they doing? Horse-mounted a man? I've seen videos like that. No, I haven't. What? Is this thing on?
Horse-mounted police officers who are both white.
The police officers were white. What about the horses? I mean, we're talking color. I see a white horse, and I see a brown horse. Integrated cavalry. Isn't that something to be celebrated? Oh yeah, but they're white police officers, so okay, we're 95% of the way to call this racist. They were what?
And that's one of your problems that's really been taking over, particularly with everybody crying that Trump's a racist, white supremacist, and all these other things, is that all context goes out of the window. And what people like the gentleman Francis that you'll be hearing from in a moment, and TYT and the like to do is take those take that fact that there is no context behind any of these photos and just run with it to basically enrage racial animus and continue to push our country towards that civil war that Tim Pool is oh so scared of.
People engaging with a black person has to be racism, yes. News at 10.
Leading a handcuffed black man down the street.
He's a black man? Oh, that's the thing we should remember. It's not that he's a deranged, mentally ill, homeless man? Those things don't matter? Oh.
Actually, they do. They matter quite a bit because, I mean, we are blessed, or if you are of the atheist belief, we are, I'm trying to think of a non-religious word for blessed. We are fortunate. There we go. We are fortunate enough to live in a time where, it had that homeless man had a home and took care of himself. This wouldn't even be an issue, but here we are. And by the way, props on the redhead in the corner right there. She's killing it.
Secondary, Devin, secondary. White men did something to black man is the story. Come on now.
Leading a handcuffed black man down the street using what appears to be a rope.
Appears to be a rope. I love the freaking guarded language. We cannot confirm or deny, but it does look rope-like.
I'm appalled. I believe that the way that
You ain't Paul. You a nigga that steal. I'm sorry. Every time I hear somebody use the word appalled, I just think of that joke from Next Friday.
handle him is disgusting.
A light-skinned black woman is appalled? I was putting on my pink lipstick, and I was just in a state of total appall.
Okay, before he starts talking about appellation and everything else like that, I don't like, quote unquote sisters wearing bright lipstick. I don't think it's a good look at all. So, I think we're all both on point on that one, Devin.
Appellation. It was the Appalachian Mountain.
Eddie, you don't even do a dog that way.
You do a dog that way. It's called a dog leash, and...
And you do your children that way, because I have seen plenty of kids on a leash. I don't know, like, if this is still a thing, but I have seen it was a few years back. It was really popular. There was these backpacks that was basically a leash for the child. The parent would put the kid in it and just yank them on back when they start wandering too far.
It's used by many dog owners around the world, and it's not to humiliate the dog.
Take a look at these two images. Both occurred in Texas.
The king of the juxtaposition. Francis, you are such a fucking buffoon. Stop, Francis. I'm like telling you as a friend, even though I'm not your friend. You are a terrible person. This is...
And you know what? This actually goes into a video that I did earlier in the week where you had this guy, Jim Sterling, who's from Britain, talking about what's taking place in America. And now you have this guy who's clearly from Scotland just talking about what's taking place in America. And my question remains, when will Americans be able to talk about what's taking place in America? I mean, yeah, you can be naturalized and you can definitely, garner your citizenship as someone from a different country. But this country is over 300 years old. We have plenty of natural born citizens that can comment with far greater knowledge of the history of our country. And I don't want to say knowledge, but with greater context, with greater with personal insights as to what takes place in this country. But the reason that they are so quick to bring these people from other countries over here is because they are looking at it from a completely different viewpoint, which isn't always bad. But when you're talking about the racial animus and things that really are in the underbelly of our society, I feel as if they are just unqualified to speak on.
Such a bad argument, okay? It is so beneath me to explain this, but it has to be explained because this video has, wait for it, 694,000 views. Francis, this fuck...
I don't even know what the hell I'd do with 694,000 views.
King Nimrod is about to make this case to us. Well, I'll let him make it, but you get where this is going. But go. Tell us, Francis.
Both occurred in Texas. Both involved law enforcement.
Oh, okay, so these are similar. Yes, there's nothing different here. Texas, okay. Well, there's one thing that's different that you should factor in. One thing. And the one thing is, there was a black in one of them. That's the only difference between these two cases. It's the only difference. Because they're...
Baby girl on the guitar ain't that bad either. I mean, this very nice, guys. Very nice.
Everything else is the same. It happened in Texas, and the sun was out in both of them. Look, they're on cement in both. In both cases, they're on cement, it's in Texas, and it was during the day. So, why is it that they put a rope around one guy, but not the other guy? Francis, can you tell us? Francis, I think you think it's racism. I have a sneaking suspicion that you're such a low-life scumbag do-nothing fuck that you think this is racism.
He does, because that's what he's paid to do. That's his job. His job is to sit there, find the racism, even though he's Scottish, and I'm not really sure how that affects him all so much, but his job is to find the racism, and I can't help but notice he's wearing a Mermaids Are White shirt. Well, I mean, he has it plastered on, and he has a redhead in a tub. I'm picking up what you're putting down there, brother.
Francis, here's one point that I'd like to make to you. The procedure of tying a rope around the handcuffs of a man you are transporting in Galveston, Texas, is a practice that they have been doing for years, and they've been doing it to white people as well.
Boom, done. Okay, if that's what they do. See, that's one of the more irritating parts about people from different areas trying to dictate how another area should go. And I mean that from the country level, which I just spoke of when it comes to the United States, down to the municipal level. If you are in, let's say, Florida, you have absolutely no idea what I don't want to say you have no idea because I don't know what you've been doing, but I'm pretty sure you have less of a grasp of what's taking place in Montana and why their laws would be as they are. So it really is a bit disingenuous for people to see a picture such as the one of the gentleman in the being ushered along by the police on horseback without truly understanding how they do things out there in Galveston.
Now, I know you don't have a picture of that, so it's hard for your little lizard brain to understand, to conceptualize such a thing. But you are aware there are white people who commit crimes in Galveston, yes? And you are aware that these cops have done the precise same thing to white people. So what case do you have that this is special treatment because the guy's black? You don't have a case. You're just suggesting that for no...
Yeah, I get your anger and everything else like that, but she's really attractive, and she reminds me of what's her name? Alyssa Monaghan or something like that. She was the one from American Pie, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the TV show. Like, she's just really just screaming that to me right now. Continue.
Fucking reason, because you read this article and you were triggered by it because, oh no, a black is being dominated by these whites and those horses. And that's not even addressing the insanity of putting that up against this mass shooter.
However, only one involved a white supremacist who gunned down 30 plus people in a Walmart, killing 22, while the other was a mentally ill man accused of trespassing.
Well, Francis, again, apples to oranges. Why don't you compare, a mass shooter? No, that's terrible. A white man who was a mass shooter. And look at them, they didn't even kill him. I mean, I think it's just because the cops are so buddy-buddy with white people, even white supremacist mass shooters. Francis, you seem very convinced by one-to-one examples. That's all it takes. There was a time this thing happened, and then there was another time, totally different situation, where that thing happened. And
yeah, it's like comparing Jack the Ripper to Jeffrey Epstein. You know, like, they have absolutely nothing to do with each other. And just because you want to play the Crayola game and be a part of the Crayola crew doesn't mean that the rest of the world should bend upon your whims and your wills or see things in that manner in which you see them. Because the way that Francis here and TYT as a whole, because I gotta say, they just race bait. I mean, that's why they hired Sean King. That's why they always have these really long segments about, oh my goodness, this is just all this injustice. Where's the equality? Let me tell you something. Equality is a myth. And while we're at it, human rights are a myth. Like that. Okay, how do I put this? Because I don't want to be a jerk, but at the same time, this is a very frustrating thing for me, because one of the bigger arguments that I constantly see is this: oh man, you're violating that person's human rights. Let me tell you something. Human rights are nothing more than a courtesy. That's it. All right. On paper, they don't exist. The only rights that you have are that if you are an American or an American citizen, you have constitutional rights. That's it. That's the only rights on paper that there is a penalty for violating. Nothing else. Your human rights. Well, civil rights get wrapped up into the constitutional rights, but your civil rights are protected by the Constitution. Make no mistake.
that's my case for you. I'm done researching. Francis, this is so triflingly stupid. Hey, you remember the DC sniper? Of course you don't. There's two black guys, but here's one of them being led away in handcuffs, not by a rope.
Okay, I didn't know that they made bulletproof vests in white. That is actually looking kind of fly. And I do remember DC snipers. That was kind of nuts. I was in Virginia at the time, and people were completely losing their shit. They did not want to stop on the highway for gas for nothing.
I mean, because I don't think they had the rope with them, they would have loved to just leash this dude up. But no, it was just a peaceful arrest, but wait, he was a mass shooter. He killed many, many people. That seems wrong and weird, doesn't it? I guess the cops who arrested him were just racist black supremacists because they didn't rope him.
This image trended on Twitter.
Oh, fuck you. God, he's effeminate. Look at him.
Yeah, I gotta agree. And is that a mullet? That feels like a mullet. Like, you know, party up top, business up top, party in the back.
Looking more like David Bowie every day. Francis.
Let's dance.
I love that you chose the mass shooter from El Paso as evidence that white people, even if they're super racist mass shooters, they get treated with kid gloves. Francis, there was another shooter that same weekend, only a few hours later, in Ohio. Do you want to see a picture of him, Francis? Do you want to see how the white authorities dealt with that guy? He was white, so he should have been taken to Burger King because, you know, we only feed white supremacist mass murderers. You know, we don't feed blacks in prison. That's not a thing. Yeah, the reason you're not cutting to a picture of the Ohio shooter is because he got blasted. He's dead. He was taken out in a flurry of gunfire. So, Francis, that's kind of like an apples to oranges to bananas comparison, isn't it? That's a new element. That's not just a one-to-one. How on earth can we manage to incorporate that new information? Sometimes white people get killed Sometimes they're apprehended without dying. Sometimes black people are apprehended without dying. Sometimes white people get a rope attached to their handcuffs and led by horse. And some black people have the same thing happen to them.
Wow, it's almost as if each and every circumstance should be judged based on the individual circumstance and not trying to group everything together, which is really how you end up with this, with Francis and the like, really trying to push this narrative of, oh my goodness, black people, you're so oppressed. Like, bruh, nah, not really. And trust me, there is no shortage of other quote unquote black people who make livings off of that. Eric Michael Dyson, oh my God, he loves it. And really, it's just like, hey, we do not live in the time that you are proclaiming that we live in. And instead of actually focusing up on real issues like the poverty rates, the single parent rates, the terrible family courts that we have here. I mean, marriage as a whole is completely disincentivized. They've destroyed marriage. And instead of focusing on those types of things and ensuring that our children have better homes, what do? We sit here and just point the finger at everything else, when in all reality, it does start at the home. From the gentleman that was being dragged from, I'm sorry, that was a terrible term, but from the gentleman that was being escorted via horse and rope to the shooters themselves in Dayton and El Paso. These are situations and circumstances that could have been changed or could have been altered had the home life been different in some way, in some measurable way. I don't know any of these guys' upbringings or circumstances, but I can say that statistically, that's just, it would have gone way further than where we've ended up.
But Francis, imagine how diabolically stupid and disingenuous and conniving and devious you would have to be to select only what you want from all of those scenarios, which all occur, put two side by side, and then say, look at this shit. Isn't it racist? Francis, you're a disease. You're a problem. This is not to be taken lightly. What you do is stoke up racism and hatred. You are the villain. You are the bad guy. You're a fucking idiot. I am Devin Tracy. I'm calling you out on it. I'm in Los Angeles now. Why don't we meet up for a coffee?
Oh, snap. Baddest man hit my hand. Do you guys remember that game? Like back in the day, you'd be in a schoolyard fight, and everybody's sitting there talking. You talking your smack, they talking your smack, and somebody just jump in like, baddest man hit my hand.
With many people asking whether it was a recolored image from 1819.
Yeah, 1819, a throwback. Right, I mean, who's not over 1819? Good lord. UCLA just celebrated its 100th year anniversary. It started in 1919. I thought that was a long time ago. 1819, yeah, I mean, Francis, it's traumatic, isn't it? Why don't you take the fact that you and people like you are uncomfortable with slavery, a historical phenomenon, and go grapple with it in therapy, instead of using it as a weapon to divide people further.
Or, Libya's a thing. You can always shoot on out there if you really have such a huge problem with slavery, because it's not like slavery doesn't exist at this very moment. I mean, you just happen to be in the country where we have free speech and all this other thing. So you can say whatever you want and you're going to keep it focused here. But in reality, there is slavery taking place at this very moment. Shoot on out there if it's that big, if it means that much to you. Fight it out there. What took place oh so long ago, it's sad. It's tragic. But me, as a descendant of American slavery, I couldn't be more grateful to my ancestors for their sacrifice and what they endured, to whereas now I'm a natural born citizen of the greatest empire that the world's ever known.
You're cancer.
Or if it really was an image of police leashing an arrested black man and walking him through the streets on horseback.
So tragic. How did that bum ever survive?
And also, just pay attention to the music that he's using in the background, because it's that sad violin melody. as if like, you know, like really trying to drum up the emotional outrage that really, I gotta say, Devin, it's really no point in being concerned about this, because even in the photos that, not photos, but the video that of the people like complaining about this, it was just chicks. And ladies, I love you, but you really don't have the upper body strength for a full-on revolution.
Of course, it was the latter in 2019. The man, 43-year-old Donald Neely, who has a history of mental illness, was arrested for accused criminal trespass.
Okay there, sir. I don't know why I'm thinking about Gerard, but because they're both Scottish. Anyways, but you just explained exactly why they would have to transport him in such a way, and it was only for 8 blocks. It's not like it was 8 miles. Take it easy there, champ.
He's a total washout, degenerate bum. What are you talking about? A history of mental illness? He doesn't have minor anxiety issues. He's a total failure as a human.
Go downtown Newark any day, stand on the corner of Broad Market, you'll see 45 of this guy.
Being, okay?
Newark, New Jersey, not Newark, Delaware.
A private property in Galveston, but instead of waiting for a transport vehicle to take him back to an area where other officers were stationed, 2 white patrol officers on horseback tied a rope to his handcuffs and made him walk behind their horses for about 8 blocks.
And so what if the cops had been black? I mean, let's imagine it. What if black cops did the same thing in Galveston? Because it is a practice that they do. They're on horseback. They have to take the guy from one place to another. It kind of makes sense. You don't want him running away. You are transporting him. Did you want him to put him up on the horse? No. Did you want the one cop to just walk him and hold his hand and just guide the horse with them? I mean, that's just not what they do. That's not their practice. But if it had been black officers, they wouldn't have covered the story. They would have been like, it's whatever, let's not run with it. Because we can't enrage people and generate hatred toward white people for no reason, just in a vacuum. You guys are the problem. You guys are the problem.
Now, on its own, it's pretty gross enough, right? Why they felt the need to do this when this form of practice, which, as a result of the outrage, has saw Texas police change its policy on Monday, is usually only used in volatile situations, like crowd control.
Yeah, because it was a minor move. They didn't have to, but they're just like, oh, God, we live in this super outrage culture today. And it's just the easiest way. Just be like, okay, guys, we don't want tourism to Galveston to dry up, so let's just avoid this and take the path of least resistance and be like, oh, we're so sorry. 1,000 apologies. Don't want to remind you of slavery.
But when placed next to the treatment of the El Paso shooter just a few cities over...
Are you going to show the side-by-side when we kill that shooter? So that shooter will be killed by the state of Texas. Are you going to do a follow-up video, Francis? I mean... It's kind of embarrassing that you would position these things next to each other as if they have anything to do with each other. Anything. Like, it wasn't even... Look at this white mass shooter. The only 2 cops that arrested him were on horseback, but instead of tying a rope to him, they could have done that. No, instead they guided him out casually because they respected him because he was white. I mean, it's just such an unfathomably stupid attempt to cobble together some sort of pattern of thought to explain these behaviors. And I love how...
Yeah, so that's about it. I mean, the 2 things have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Not everything that happens to a quote unquote black person, because like I said, I don't like I tend to say, I don't know this guy's lineage. I'm not familiar with his history or anything else like that. But yeah, this is ridiculous. It really is. And I would just prefer that, at least my audience, be mindful of the way in which people try to take a single photo and just drop a ton of context that really doesn't need to be there. Make a bunch of equivalents that really have no place or in being in the same space. Like he said, that guy, my man on the right, on the left is going to be killed by Texas. Make no mistake about it. And have Trump do it his way, he'll kill him again. I can imagine like the guy getting the electric chair or something like that, and then Trump running into the room and saying, no, we want him again. Revive him. Reviving him, and then like having him face a firing squad, like murdering the man twice. Because, Trump's really trying to stay away from the white supremacist label. So with that being said, we're going to bring this one to an end, guys. All the internet stuff. If you liked it, toss it a like. Dislike, go ahead, do that too. I'm not scared of you. Sub if you enjoy my fantastic voice and you want to get videos like this every single day. Share, because sharing is caring. And speak. Let me know, what do you think in the comments? Are you convinced that, these two stories have any reason being anywhere near each other? Or are you more along the lines of myself and clearly Mr. Tracy, that each and every individual circumstance and situation should be judged on its own merit? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and until the next one.